Okay, good morning, everybody. We got to do it a little differently today because something screwed up with this program we have, so we're just going to do it this way with my phone. So just bear with me as much as you can. All right, so today we're going to talk about the small intestine. It is the body's major digestive organ, site of nutrient absorption in the blood. It is a small, thin, muscular tube, but it's really, really long, just winds its way around through everything. It is suspended from the posterior abdominal wall by the mesentery. All right, and that's just kind of holds it there. You'll see a picture of it later with the large intestine. There's three subdivisions of it: the duodenum, the duodenum, and the ileum. The duodenum is simply attached to the stomach. All right, curves around the head of the pancreas. That's where most of the action takes place. That's where the enzymes come in. The duodenum attaches to the duodenum, and then the ileum comes through and then dumps it into the large intestine. All right. So chemical digestion is what really happens in the small intestine. There's not a whole lot of physical stuff. There's segmentation in there, but there's not a lot of physical stuff that goes on. So this is a source of enzymes that are mixing with the chyme coming in here. The intestinal cells, the pancreas, all put their juices in there, and then the bile comes in from the gallbladder as well. So here's a really good picture of it. You see the gallbladder at the top, and again, you can follow along with your notes as well. Apologize for how small this is. All right, but if you look, all the stuff goes into the duodenum, the top part of the intestine. Pancreas is going to give its juices as well. All right, and the gallbladder is attached to the liver. You can't really see. You can see the liver in the picture on the left, but you can't really see it. A little picture. There's nothing connected to it there, but it comes from the hepatic duct. All right, the absorption itself happens in the villi of the small intestine. All right, you have finger-like structures formed from the mucosa, increases the surface area. So if you look, all right, it's got a whole bunch of ridges in it. It's not smooth. The more ridges you have, the more stuff touches the walls, and the walls are where the absorption are going to take place. All right, and so you got a bunch of these little fibers in here. These other pictures kind of blow these up. So you have these projections on top of these absorption cells to make this work. But here's the important one down here: the structures involved in absorption of nutrients. These little villi themselves have these little finger-like projections all around the outside, so stuff can get all over this. The green part are always lymphatic vessels. So this is where the poisons and the toxins that get into your stomach can be removed. All right. And we talked about that with the coronavirus, that if you swallow it down with some hot tea and things like that, it can be removed from your body through this way. All right. Before it gets to the lungs. But this is where the blood capillaries are, and this is where the exchange is going to take place. All right. Now, for the small intestine, water is absorbed around the entire length of the small intestine. It ends the products of digestion itself. Most substances are absorbed by active transport through cellular membranes. Lipids are absorbed by diffusion. So what that means is your proteins and your carbohydrates can't get across the membrane of these absorptive cells. So they need active transport that we talked about in like chapter 3. All right, you need some energy to push these things across to get the nutrients to be absorbed into the body. Lipids, on the other hand, they're fats, they're fatty acids and things like that, can easily be broken across the diffusion because they're just other lipid bilayers. Substances are transported to the liver via the hepatic portal vein or lymph, so something to get cleaned up in there as well. All right. Propulsion in the small intestine, you still have your peristalsis, the major means of moving the food. Then you have your segmental movements. All right. Segmental is segmentation. It's just a side-to-side movement. We'll talk more about it in the next lesson. All right. But it mixes the chyme with the digested juices. It's kind of the stomach likes to churn. The small intestine needs to churn, so it gets those juices mixed up. Plus, the more times it gets churned and runs over those absorptive cells, the better chance it has to be absorbed. And this also helps aid in propelling food down the channel as well. Okay. Now, once this is done, we have reached the end of the small intestine. Okay. It's done. It's finished. It's over. All right. We're done with the digestive process of the food. Now the rest is just the waste. And that's what the large intestine does. Large intestine is large in diameter, but shorter than the small intestine. It frames the internal abdomen. All right. And so here's a really good picture of it right here. All right. In the bottom left, you're going to see a little picture of the appendix right there. All right, and you have the cecum at the bottom left is the initial stage of the large intestine, going up the ascending colon, across the transverse colon, down the descending colon to the sigmoid colon, which is the little S-shaped thing at the end, to the rectal and to the anal canal down into the sphincter. Okay, major function of the large intestine is to absorb water. Eliminate any indigestible food from the body as fecal matter. Does not participate in digestion of food. That's already done. Goblet cells inside there produce mucus to act as a lubricant, okay, to help push these things along. All right, and so then you got your structures, your cecum that we talked about, your appendix, which right now is for lymphatic tissue. It used to be, a long time ago, to produce some enzymes to help with the primary production or taking away of fibers like cellulose products. We just don't eat those things anymore. All right, but you still know it's part of the lymphatic tissue. All right, and then you have your colon. I don't know why this slide's on here twice. I apologize. All right, ascending, transverse, descending, and S-shaped sigmoid, then a rectum and the anus to the external body cavity to finish the alimentary canal. All right, so no digestive enzymes are produced in this area, but you do have bacteria, and bacteria will digest the rest of the remaining nutrients. So some vitamin K and some vitamin B sort of sneaks through. The bacteria that's in there breaks them free, essentially, and then they get absorbed through the large intestine as well. But this also causes gases to be released. So your beans, kind of things are good and high in vitamin K and B. All right, this is also where my lactose intolerant people have trouble. All right, lactose intolerant people are missing the enzyme to break down the lactose, and so these bacteria break it down here at this stage. All right, it doesn't get you any of the nutrients from it, but what it really does is it produces a lot of gas, and that's what causes lactose intolerant people to have so much difficulty. But at this stage, water, vitamin K, and vitamin B can still be absorbed through the absorptive cells of the large intestine, and any remaining materials are always eliminated via the feces and fecal matter. Okay, propulsion of the large intestine is through sluggish peristalsis. It still tries to move it, but instead of these quick movements side to side, it does these mass push movements about 3 to 4 times a day. That's it. All right, slow, powerful movements moving these things through the large intestine. It does not mean you have to poop 3 to 4 times a day. You should poop once a day, all right, at least, all right? Twice if you're really athletic and active and doing a lot of stuff, or depending on what you ate or whatever. But once a day is considered healthy. Okay, if you're doing once every 2 to 3 days, you need to get more fiber in your diet, because fiber is going to help push this along as well. Okay, but once a day should be fine. You should also examine it as well. I know it's disgusting, but you should. All right, it should be relatively long, smooth, not too watery, all this other kind of stuff, because you've absorbed all of that water at this point. Okay, if you have diarrhea or loose stools, then obviously the water is coming through too fast before it has a chance to absorb. Now, once these pushes get food into your rectum, it promotes what's called the defecation reflex. Internal anal sphincter is relaxed. Defecation will occur with the relaxation of the voluntary external sphincter. Excuse me. So you get this push. It pushes down into your rectum, and you get that feeling like, hey, it's time to go. That is involuntary. But you then say, okay, I can wait, I can go when I go home, whatever, and you go to a voluntary phase to let it out. Obviously, we've all been through circumstances where we couldn't wait anymore. Things had to happen, and you had to let it go, okay? Excuse me. Now, you have some other organs that help out with this. We talked about a lot of these in the process. Salivary glands, the teeth, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. If we were in school, we would do some quizzes on teeth and things like that, but we just don't have that with where we're at. So salivary glands produce, by the parotid glands, the submandibular glands, and the sublingual glands obviously produce your saliva. They start this as soon as you think about food, as soon as you smell the food, because your brain is telling you that food is coming, and so I need to get ready for this process. So this is the first defense, right? Most of the saliva is a mixture of mucus and serous fluids. It helps to form the food bolus. The food bolus is the solid food that you take in plus the liquid saliva that the tongue then shoves down the throat. Saliva also contains salivary amylase to begin starch digestion. We talked about this with the cracker, changing the starch into simple sugars. That's why it starts to taste sweet. It helps also dissolve chemicals so they can be tasted. You have to get them into your taste buds in order for this to work. So that's what they're trying to do there. Okay, your teeth, the role of the teeth is to masticate or chew the food. You obviously know you've had 2 sets of teeth all your life. You had the baby teeth, all right, about 20 of them formed by the age 2. Sometimes you're born with them, and good luck breastfeeding if you have a child that was born with teeth, okay? But then your permanent teeth come in sometimes between the ages of 6 to 12, all right, beginning in those ages and knocking out the rest of them. That's why they won't do braces till after you're 12 or 13 or whatever, until all your permanent teeth are in. A full set of teeth is usually 32, but some people don't have all their wisdom teeth and stuff like that. There are 4 types of teeth. There are incisors, which bite through things. There are canines, which rip through proteins and meats. There are premolars and molars, which help grind food, all right, down to help with the mastication process. And so there's a really good picture in your slide about the classification of teeth. Incisors are central and lateral. Central, the ones in the front. Lateral, just the sides of them. Then you have your canine, eye tooth on both sides. Then you have molars and your second molar for babies, but you have your premolars and molars and even your wisdom teeth for adults. The wisdom teeth are going to be the last 4, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom. Sometimes you guys might get it and not have to get them taken out because they fit in just fine and don't cause any problems. But sometimes your wisdom teeth grow in later and they grow in sideways, or they push the other teeth out of the way, causing massive dental problems. So it's easier just to pull them out and do that kind of stuff. Of course, if they're impacted, you have them surgically removed. Regions of the tooth. All right, you have your crown, which is the exposed part. All right, that's where if you ever get a crown in your teeth, whatever, that means they have had so much cavity damage that the top part is pretty much gone. The enamel is wore away all the way down to the dentin, so they're going to take that part and cut it off. They're going to dig down into the root of the tooth, which is the stuff impacted into the bone, all right, through the neck, which is by the gum line, and they're going to not pull out the tooth. I mean, sometimes you can get a tooth pulled if it's so bad, all right, but they're going to rip those nerves out and make it basically a dead tooth, and then give you a fake crown on top. Okay, I have a couple of them. I had the one that was hit out with the hockey stick, and I have one that went away because my dentist was special and didn't get it fixed. Okay, now if you think about a cavity, it's just the enamel wearing away down into the dentin, all this other kind of stuff. But if you ever think about teeth whiteners, the enamel is the top white part that gets stained very, very easily. All right, and if it gets stained really easily, you want to clean it off. So you brush your teeth, whatever, but it doesn't come off because it's too stained. So you use your bleach whitening, teeth whitening strips that essentially dissolve the top layer of enamel to expose the underlaying part, which is nice white color, and it's great, except enamel doesn't grow back. And so every time you do that, you strip away a little bit at a time. So a normal color of a tooth is a dull white. I'm not saying yellow or brown or whatever, but a dull white, just because that's just normal. Now, another enzymes or things we have to worry about are the enzymes that come in. This is caused by the pancreas. Produces a wide spectrum of digestive enzymes that help break down all categories of food. So this helps break down fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And this all comes into the duodenum. But it also secretes an alkaline fluid. Your stomach acid really does a job on a lot of other things, tearing down the food. You don't want it in the rest of your body. So as it goes into the small intestine, the pancreas puts in a little alkaline fluid to balance your pH, just like you guys learned in chemistry, and neutralize it and make it a much more tolerable thing for the rest of your intestinal wall. Endocrine also produces, or pancreas also produces stuff for your endocrine system, insulin and glucagons we talked about before. Now, we really haven't a chance to study the liver at all, but liver is the largest gland in the body. It's the right side of the body underneath the diaphragm. It has 4 lobes. They're actually cut in pieces. Liver is the only organ that can actually regenerate itself. You can segment a little bit of liver and transplant it to somebody else if they want to. But it's also connected to the gallbladder via the common hepatic duct. All right. Now, once the bile, which is the important part for what we're studying for digestion, all right, comes from here. And the bile's job is to tear apart fats, break them into their fatty acids. And it's made of bile salts and bile pigment. If you ever threw up so much that you didn't have any food left, you might have had some of this stuff left over. All right, cholesterol, phospholipids, and electrolytes are also in there as well. Now, other roles of what the liver does, besides this digestion, is to help detoxify drugs and alcohol. You guys understand that already. It helps degrade hormones that we talked about in the endocrine system. Helps produce cholesterol and blood proteins, clotting factors for hemophiliacs. And it also plays a central role in your metabolism, okay? And the last thing we're going to talk about today is gallbladder. Gallbladder is a greenish sac found just in what's called the hollow fossa of the liver, a little indentation in the liver where it sits in there. It stores bile from the liver by the way of the cystic duct. The bile is introduced into the duodenum in the presence of fatty foods, okay? You don't know, when you digest fatty foods, it sends a signal that it's going to be sent, and that's when it needs the bile coming in, okay? But gallstones can cause blockages. They can actually be painful, things like that. My mom had an infected gallstone, and so her entire gallbladder had to be removed. And so she has to be real careful now when she eats fatty foods because she doesn't have that in-between signal to make that go, okay? So real simple. Small intestines are where most of the damage is done. All right, you get fluids from the liver, the bile coming through the gallbladder by way of the gallbladder. You get fluids from the pancreas, whatever, and then it starts to dissolve and break all those things up for the absorptive cells. All of that has to do through the small intestine, which is why it's so long. The waste goes through the rest of it, through the large intestine, trying to remove as much water as you can down into fecal matter and make it go. Okay, so that's it for today.